Our next presentation will be with Eva Gethings. It'll be on the import of medicated animal feed. So if we could just get Eva up on screen. I can see her presentation there. Eva, are you there? Ah, there you are. You're muted, I think, though.
Sorry, no. No.
Okay, now you're not. Very good. So I will leave you to it then, Eva.
Thanks, Tom, and good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the requirements with regard to the import of a medicated feed from a third country, with the UK specifically in mind now that we are post-Brexit. So a medicated feeding stuff refers to a mixture of an animal remedy and an animal feed, which is intended to be fed to animals, predominantly pigs, poultry or fish, without any further processing. These animal remedies that are used in the manufacture of medicated feed are veterinary medicinal products, and they're intended for and they're authorised for this specific use. Legislation covering medicated feed are Council Directive 90/167 EEC and our national legislation on medicated feed, which is SI number 176 of 1994. General feeding stuffs regulations also apply to medicated feed. Regulation 13 of SI number 176 of 1994 lays down the requirements with regard to the import of a medicated feed from a third country. So this legislation, while it is the legislation that we're currently working under, it will be repealed in January 2022, which is less than 1 year from now, by a new European regulation, EU Regulation 2019/4. The national legislation, so the SI under this European regulation, has not yet been finalised. There are many new requirements under this European regulation, but the requirements with regard to the import of medicated feed will likely remain quite similar to the requirements at present. So the specific requirements for the import of medicated feed are detailed under Regulation 13 of SI number 176 of 1994. The import requires a licence. The feed must be manufactured to equivalent standards as our own national standards, and an authorised premix must be used for the manufacture of the feed. An authorised medicinal premix is one which possesses a VPA or an EU number and has been authorised by the Health Products Regulatory Authority, the HPRA, or the European Medicines Agency, the EMA. Supporting documentation is requested as part of the review process to obtain a licence and will include veterinary justification regarding the need for the treatment, copies of the VWDs, the veterinary written directions which direct the manufacture and the administration of the feed, details of the prescribing veterinary practitioner and sites where the feed will be administered, details of the medicinal premix which will be used to manufacture the feed. We carry out checks to verify that manufacturers are operating to EU equivalent standards. Requirements of records which must be kept by the importer are laid down in the schedule to the licence. So the licence is issued to the importer and it's valid for the validity of the VWD, which is 31 days from the date the VWD was signed by the veterinary practitioner. Just with regard to the use of an authorised premix by a GB feed mill, so the UK veterinary medicines regulations do permit approved GB commercial feed mills to incorporate non-UK authorised medicinal premixes into feed. That's provided that the final medicated feed is for export to a country where that premix is authorised. The feed mill is required to notify the competent authority in the UK of the products that they export. So that's the responsibility of the GB feed mill and not the importer of the feed here. To mention Northern Ireland, the movement of medicated feed from Northern Ireland to the Republic remains unchanged in line with the Northern Ireland Protocol, and Northern Ireland is still treated as EU territory with regard to the movement of medicated feed. So while there are specific requirements for medicated feed, it is really important to note that medicated feed is subject to all the general import requirements for compound feed. And if the feed contains an animal byproduct, ABP requirements also apply, which will be explained further in a following presentation today. The importer must ensure that these requirements are in order in addition to obtaining a medicated feed import licence. And as there is generally a degree of urgency with regard to administering medicated feed to animals who require the treatment, this is important to note. So ensuring that all the requirements are met will help to ensure that the manufacture of the feed and the import can proceed without any delay. We do anticipate the volume of medicated feed imports to be quite small, with medicated fish feed perhaps being the main feed type which will be imported, and that's due to the small size of the market for that feed here. Unlike the UK, to my knowledge, we don't have any compound feed mills that are specialised or dedicated to the manufacture of fish feed here currently. Prior to Brexit, there actually wasn't demand for the import of a medicated feed from a third country to here at all. We have set up a new licensing system only in recent weeks to facilitate this need since Brexit. So a request for a medicated feed import licence can be made to Veterinary Medicines WMC at agriculture.gov.ie. This contact point can also be used for queries or to request further information, and we'd be happy to assist in any way we can. And for general Brexit queries, contact points are detailed here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Eva.